How's it, guys? This is Dayvy FPL and welcome back to another Fantasy Premier League video here on my channel. And now for the first video of this current international break, we're going to be going over a highly requested topic. Yes, it is yet another wildcard draft. As I said, highly requested from you guys over on Twitter. So I thought that I would get onto this wildcard draft, as the wildcard chip has been something that I've been considering and pondering over the previous game weeks. I don't know if I'll be using it for this precise game week, but it never hurts to kind of look at the team you want. So this video is going to be going for those people who are using the chip for the upcoming game week 9, as well as just those of you who just want to get a little bit of an image in your mind of a team that you could potentially be using with those free transfers or those hits, or even maybe some transfers that are players that you haven't even been considering. So I think this video is for a lot of people, and I hope you enjoy it. Without further ado, let's get into it. So as we did with the other international break wildcard, we're going to be going over some tips and maybe some suggestions on why people are using their wildcard and maybe why you should. So you get 2 weeks to deliberate. I know we've kind of used up most of the first week. This video is coming out on Thursday. I wanted to get this video out in the first week, as it gives you guys an opportunity to get these players in before maybe the potential price rises or even maybe some potential drops. So that's the next tip, is just please watch out for the price rises and drops. Use whatever website or tool you use to monitor price rises. I know that no tool or website is 100% accurate, but at least that way you're kind of getting an indication if they do have a potential to rise or drop. But just keep that team value on check while you're on a wild card. You could potentially catch a 0.2 million rise, and therefore you can sell that player for a little bit of a profit, which is always nice on a wild card. So just keep your eye out for that. Before the deadline, you can always chop and change these players and kind of get the starting 11 and bench that you really want before, as I said, that game week 9 deadline. The thing why you might be using your wild card now is we do have a really good indication of the lineups, and this gives us some nice budget options and even guaranteed starters to consider that we might not have had at the start of the season or leading up to now. So definitely one thing to consider as well is the injuries. As I always say, generally when we do have an international break, is you can make these moves earlier if you're on a wild card without having to worry about injuries. If you're not on a wild card, please just monitor the situation with the players you own or potentially want to bring in, as there is a lot of football happening over this international break. So keep your eyes on the players and see how many minutes they're playing and if they do come up injured. So hopefully this is a little bit of a breakdown, but let's get into some other points to consider. So the one thing that I always look at when I am on a wildcard is the fixtures. So here I've highlighted 2 teams that I think have really outstanding fixtures from now to the second wildcard becomes available. As you can see, runs to the end of the December period, as we do get that fresh wildcard chip in the January kind of month. At the start of January we get another chip, so please use your wildcard. If you may be watching this video quite late on in the season, be sure to use your wildcard before that January window kind of opens up, as otherwise your chip is kind of nullified and it's a waste of a chip. So as you can see, Arsenal have a lovely run of fixtures. They only have a little bit of a red stance towards the end. They play Man City, Everton and Chelsea, but 2 out of 3 are at home, so you could maybe say that they could maybe nick a goal or 2. I wouldn't be looking at the Arsenal defense too much, but with these fixtures I definitely will be looking to maybe bring in an Arsenal player, and we'll be talking about that later on when I show you the drafts. The other team to note is Leicester. The nice thing about Leicester is they've come a little bit under the radar from the start of the season, so some of their players are priced really cheaply, and there are some great budget options to include in your squad. Again, we'll be getting onto that in the draft, but as you can see, Leicester have some very nice fixtures. Maybe towards the end, that Man City and Liverpool are probably the 2 worst fixtures to have, but they have shown that they do have potential to be a top 4 even side this season. So that's another thing that's kind of leading me towards Leicester, is their great form and just generally how well they are playing. So the next team we're going to be going over is Liverpool. A little bit of a controversial team. I know a lot of their options are quite highly priced, so I think people have generally lost a little bit of patience with their Liverpool assets, and to be honest, I think they are hastily dropping them out. The reason I'm saying this is if you are going to use your wild card and you're going to be dropping these Liverpool players, just be prepared to maybe for them to get back into form, and then you're going to be having to bring those players back into your lineup, as Liverpool players are always highly owned. So just be cautious. I would maybe have one one or two of them in my wildcard and then transfer them out if they don't have great form. I know that's a little bit of a tricky situation, as they do have their generally bad fixtures at the start of this wildcard period, and the good fixtures only kind of kick in about 4 game weeks time. However, Man United away and Spurs at home are potentially the two best top 6 sides to play. Top 6 from last season, they might not be this season, but we're going to only see that at the end of the season. So out of the top 6 sides, probably the best teams to play at the moment. They're not in great form, so Liverpool can definitely get some attacking returns and maybe even some defensive returns from these two fixtures. The Man City one's a little bit of a tough one, but it is a must-win game if Liverpool want a challenge for the title, so they'll be raring to go in that one. But they do have some lovely fixtures in between them and after those kind of sea of red. So definitely consider them. If you don't use your wildcard this week, you can maybe transfer out your Liverpool assets, as then you'll be able to wildcard them back in. But I just wanted to give you a little bit of a warning as to just prepare yourself and don't spread your money too vastly. At the end of the day, you definitely want to be bringing the Liverpool players back if they hit form. But let's get on to our first draft. So as we do, there are going to be 2 drafts in this video. The first one, a little bit more of a safe draft, and the second one, a little bit more of a maverick pick for those of you who just want to have a little bit of fun with FPL, and it's definitely more attacking based. A little bit of a spoiler there. But in the first draft, I've opted for Ryan and Button in goal. You can kind of go for whatever 4.5 million keeper you want. I've just opted for Ryan as I have had him in my squad, and he's been returning recently against some tough opposition. So definitely one that I'll be keeping. I know Pope is another popular option, so you could opt for him. One that I want to give a special mention to is Henderson. I do think that Sheffield United are looking quite defensively sure, so you could opt for him. He does seem to be getting some clean sheets and also a lot of save points. So whatever 4.5 you want to go for, I've just opted for Ryan as he's my personal favorite. But then going into defense, I've gone for one definite premium option here with Alexander-Arnold. In my opinion, the best premium defender you can go for. I know Liverpool haven't been keeping the clean sheets, but Alexander-Arnold has definitely been on the attacking side of things, and he just looks a great option. If you watch Liverpool games, he's always on those crosses and those free kicks, so definitely can look as an assisting option for the likes of maybe Virgil van Dijk, but he also loves to get forward. Being a midfielder growing up through football, he definitely has more of an attacking mindset in football, so I definitely like him as he does come in, I know at 7.2, but definitely the most attacking defender in my opinion. So I've opted for him. Then going into the other defense, I've opted for Soyuncu, 4.7, along with Tomori, 4.7 as well. These two lads will probably rise in price, so you want to bring them in quite quickly. But with Soyuncu, I spoke about Leicester's nice fixtures, and definitely looks to be a stable centre-back in that lineup. Don't see him being rotated or going anywhere. And with, as I said, Leicester's nice fixtures, hopefully he'll be picking up some clean sheets. With Tomori, looks great for Chelsea. I know Chelsea aren't the most defensive side, but if you're looking at owning maybe a top 6 defender for that cheap of a price, that looks like FPL gold. So definitely one that I'll be bringing into my squad if I was to wildcard. I'm even maybe considering him if I was to maybe use my free transfers. So definitely one to look at. In terms of the rest of the defenders, I've opted for Kelly. Crystal Palace, great defensive form. Kelly looks to be in that lineup. Whenever he started, they've kept a clean sheet. So I think that has to tell Roy Hodgson something about Kelly, and hopefully he'll be starting in the foreseeable future. Then everyone knows Lundstrom, not going to mention him. Out of defense, into midfield, 4.2 absolute steal. I know that he's risen to about 4.5, so just one thing to consider. If you're not able to afford him, maybe just look at some other cheaper options. Going into midfield, I've opted for Mane over Salah. I know, a little bit of a controversial one, but I just think that Mane is showing a lot more attacking threat. And the thing with Mane is he offers that headering threat as well, compared to Salah, who doesn't really get on the end of many headers. But Mane just seems to be in and around the box, all over the place, and definitely the best Liverpool attacker in my opinion. And he does come in about one more cheaper than Salah, so comes straight into my lineup. You could go for Salah if you want a little bit of safety, but I don't think you need to. Mane should be perfect this season, and I'm pretty sure that he's going to be keeping up to par with Salah. So if he comes in about one more cheaper, definitely worth it. Then going into the rest, Maddison, 7.1, managed to score against Liverpool on the weekend. Is showing great form as well as with Soyuncu. Leicester's fixtures are absolutely amazing. You could opt for Vardy, but I've opted for Maddison as he comes in quite a bit cheaper and fills that midfield midfield slot that maybe the forwards, because there's so many forwards up front that are performing, I think there's less midfielders that we could potentially look at. So I've opted for Maddison in this draft. Then we have De Bruyne. Nothing more to say about De Bruyne. Absolute integral part to the Man City lineup. Hasn't started the 2 games that they've lost, so maybe that tells you something about De Bruyne's place in that City lineup. But definitely probably the best player in the Premier League at the moment. I know that he has had a little bit of injury scare, but if he does come back fit, definitely comes into the lineup. Then we opted for Hayden. I know that he is suspended, so before you comment, I do know that he's suspended, but at 4.5, you're not going to be playing him this game week, next game week, and then he's back from suspension. So Newcastle also have some nice fixtures coming up, so definitely a 4.5 million option. My favorite one, the likes of Dendoncker, doesn't really get as forward as we were expecting in preseason. So with Hayden, comes in at 4.5, probably going to be on your bench most game weeks, so you don't have to worry too much about him. You could downgrade him to maybe Dendoncker if you can't afford this lineup. But then we're going to Mount. I got him in for quite cheap, so definitely stays in my lineup. A great midfielder. Chelsea are showing so much attacking threat that it's irresistible not to bring a Chelsea double up into my lineup. So Mount and Abraham come in as my kind of Chelsea double up. They're also quite cheap in my opinion, so definitely worth their FPL price. Then we have Aguero. I've opted for Aguero over Sterling, as I think that Aguero has shown better form this season, and Aguero is definitely the main man going forward. You saw it this weekend. There is that potential risk of rotation with Jesus, but I think you just got to kind of stick with your Man City option and hope that he does the best. I am still keen on that Man City double up, as I do think that they're the most attacking side in the Premier League, so they should be scoring the most goals. As you can see, another honorable mention to Callum Wilson. He came into my lineup from game week 1, but I managed to transfer him out as Bournemouth weren't scoring as many goals as I was anticipating. They do have some nice fixtures coming up, and Callum Wilson has showed some consistency, so he comes in my lineup as a little bit of a almost differential. I know that he's probably owned by quite a bit, but I haven't really seen him in that many people's lineups. So if you can't really afford this lineup, as I've said, you can downgrade 1 or 2 of these players. Probably the favorite would be maybe Callum Wilson to Josh King. I know that's quite a big downgrade, but you are saving quite a lot of money there. The other player that I definitely wouldn't trade out is Tammy Abrahams. I spoke about him a little bit with Mount and Abraham, that kind of having that double up, but I think that Abraham's one of the best strikers to have this season and definitely worth his price, so I would consider him. Now let's go into more of the Maverick pick. I haven't made that many transfers in this draft, but I will kind of show you what the notable ones are. So I've kind of labeled this draft as defense is not worth it. As you can see, I've downgraded Trent Alexander-Arnold for Rico. Rico's place is a little bit up in the air. I'm hoping that he keeps his spot. He's definitely worth bringing in if he does keep that spot, as he's on a lot of Bournemouth set pieces, and me being an Ake owner, I will know that Bournemouth score quite a bit from set pieces, so definitely one to maybe consider from his attacking threat. I think defensively, Bournemouth aren't going to be getting too many clean sheets, but then again, you're probably going to be playing one of Rico, Kelly, or Lundstrom every game week, so you can kind of go for whoever has the best fixture. The other notable change in this lineup is Callum Wilson to Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. So you can see a massive kind of upgrade. I know it might not be the best upgrade in terms of FPL points, as both players have been quite consistent, but I just think Aubameyang offers that more explosive threat, and as I mentioned, Arsenal's fixtures are great, so I definitely would be looking at bringing him in. He's kind of a tough price point, as you can probably only afford one of Aguero and Aubameyang without kind of hindering your defense, as I have in this lineup. But I think with Aubameyang, you are looking at a more explosive option, and definitely this is kind of the more all-out attack. I don't know if you guys remember that chip, but this is the all-out attack chip. I like it because it offers benching options, so you don't have to kind of bench a 6.5 or a 5.9 kind of option that I've seen in other drafts if you go without the likes of Mane. And that's one thing that I wanted to mention. Don't spread your budget too much. As I spoke about, if you want to get the Liverpool assets back in, it's kind of better to have cheap bench and then kind of downgrade one of your premium options to kind of share the budget a little bit with your Liverpool option. So I like this option, as I don't really have a benching headache every game week. Maybe just the budget enablers in defense, but that's not too much, as you're not expecting so much from a 4.1 or 4.2 defender. But I definitely like this lineup as a little bit of fun. If you want to go for FPL and kind of make up the most differential points you can, I definitely would be looking at this lineup, as it does offer the most kind of high ceiling of any team that I've created. So hopefully you've enjoyed these drafts. Comment down below if you do have a draft that I should kind of look at, or maybe some of the other community should look at, and you think your drafts are better than mine. Probably, you probably might have a better selection than me, so drop it down in the comments below. But otherwise, I hope you've enjoyed this wildcard draft video. Hopefully it's been informative, and hopefully some of you consider my transfer options or even my wildcard drafts for your wildcard chip. So if you enjoyed the video, please like it and subscribe down below if you have not subscribed yet. Also, I'll be leaving my league code down in the description for those of you who have not joined. I'll be closing my league after this game week, so last chance to get in. But otherwise, I'm going to be signing off. This has been Dayvy FPL, and I'm out. Cheers, bye.